Helen and I visited Moreton Island in May 2023. Moreton Island was named by Matthew Flinders in July 1799. So the island also has an Aboriginal name, which is Mungumpin. Moreton Island is approximately 58 kilometres from Brisbane. It is the third largest sand island in the world, and nowadays 95% of the island is designated as a national park. Vehicular access to the island is limited to four-wheel drive vehicles. A barge crosses over Moreton Bay from the Port of Brisbane to Moreton Island, and on arrival at Moreton Island, you drive straight off the barge onto the beach. Immediately to the south of the landing area is Tangalooma Resort, a large holiday tourist resort destination, which is actually located on the site of Queensland's only whaling station that operated from 1952 to 1962. History tells us that up to 600 humpback whales were processed here each season while the whaling station was operating. On arrival at the island, we made our way north, travelling along the western beach. The island itself covers an area of 186 square kilometres. It's 37 kilometres from the northern tip to the southern tip and 13 kilometres wide at its widest point. The only rocky outcrop on the island is the very northern tip that we now know as Cape Moreton. This was named by Captain Cook in 1770 when he sailed past. And we know from his journals that at that time he assumed the landmass he was passing was part of the mainland. He had no idea that the huge sheltered waters of Moreton Bay were sitting in behind the island. Usually when we travel, Helen and I camp, and we enjoy being self-sufficient. On this trip, we're travelling in our trusty Land Cruiser. We've owned the Land Cruiser for very close to 24 years, and it's been set up with it's got a bed in the back and a kitchen, water supply, everything that we need to wild camp on the beaches or in the bush. On this particular trip, we decided to stay in rental accommodation and we rented a half cabin, half tent at Bulwer, up towards the north of the island. So in effect, on this trip, we were glamping. Our little cabin with a canvas roof was very comfortable and had a ensuite bathroom, um, and no cooking facilities. There was a shared camp kitchen that had everything we needed, and we actually had it all to ourselves because while we were there, the island was very quiet and there was virtually no other guests. As we were staying on the western side of the island, we were lucky enough to have some beautiful sunsets over the water, looking back towards the mainland. Beach stone curlews were a common sight around our campsite. All of the roads on the island are just sandy tracks. The condition of the roads varied, and most places there was a good solid base below the soft sand. We drove with low pressure tyres, and very often we were able to drive in two-wheel drive. There were occasions where four-wheel drive was necessary, particularly on the steep climbs. The beaches were good to drive on, although we did make a point of tackling the beaches at low tide. On particularly high tides, there could be difficulty getting along the beaches in some places. This particular road is Middle Road, and it dissects the island approximately halfway from the northern tip to the southern tip. So right in the middle of the island, and it crosses the island very close to the highest point on the island, which is Mount Tempest. It's the highest coastal sand hill in the world, apparently, and it's 280 metres high. So the road is quite steep, and because of that, it's cut up by vehicles struggling to get up it. Some people actually tow caravans over here, and off-road caravans, of course. And so it was necessary here to use four-wheel drive. Fortunately, there are two separate tracks. It's not actually a dual carriageway, but there's one road for eastbound traffic, and just across from it there's a road for westbound traffic. So at least on this particular road you don't have the excitement of meeting another vehicle.